something crosses the road. It's skeletal like, fleshy, and it stands up, and then it like kind of just almost like leaps.
They look back and they see one. Clear as day. It walked 5 feet away from my audio recorder. We just saw a Bigfoot. Holy crap.
I've been pinched, I've been tapped on the shoulder, I've had my name hollered, a hand came up underneath my left arm. I said, little son of a bitch tried to get me. That was the time that I decided you don't sleep inside that building.
Did you see that?
The cow cur, it's big, it's white, and it runs faster than any man could ever run. And he would lean out behind the tree. And that's why we never go out, because the booger will get you.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
How are you today?
Alright.
That's good. That's good. So this is our 50th episode.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And it's a year that we started doing this podcast.
I know. That's wild. That's wild. I think that I don't like the lighting here. Hold on. There we go. That's a little better. Ish. That's fine. But yeah, I can't believe that it's been a year. I completely didn't even realize it until Renee had said something.
Yeah, I didn't realize it either. It's crazy.
That is crazy. Granted, we did miss a few episodes. You know, we've been releasing every week.
No, it's not back for a year.
Yeah. So this episode, we are going to... Well, Luke and I have picked our 5 most favorite episodes of the year, and we're going to discuss them. So
yeah, we're also gonna talk about like the accomplishments that we did throughout the year, and plans for the future.
Yeah. So what do you want to do first? Do you want to get into our goals and resolutions, or do you want to go through these top 10 picks?
Let's go through the top 10 picks, then we can do that afterwards.
Okay, you go first.
How about we get back and forth? I'll pick one, you pick one.
That's fair.
I pick one, you pick one.
Let's do that.
All right. So, it's so hard to pick between all 50 episodes and pick 5 of them. So, this was a real struggle for me. I'm still looking at episodes and deciding which ones I like the most. But,
You're still picking.
So, the one I really did enjoy that comes off the top of my head whenever I'm looking through the episodes, because I didn't have time to sit down and listen to all 50 episodes. The Bigfoot in Mount Shasta with Daniel James was one of the ones that stuck out to me.
Yeah, that's actually one that I have on my list, episode 23, Bigfoot in Mount Shasta. Those kinds of conversations I enjoy, like whenever we get deep into like spirituality and Bigfoot and like all the theories. I enjoy. Daniel was a cool guy to have on. We should bring him back on. Actually, I think we asked him to come on back in October, but we never scheduled it. Sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, I really found the encounter when he broke down on the side of the road in New York, and he walked up onto the Bigfoot. I thought that was a really cool part.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead? We'll clip that right now and we'll let them listen to that.
So we get out of the car, it's pitch black, and we walk into the gravel. And the second that we stepped into the gravel, we hear this scuffle, like this big, like the gravel sort of like disturbs, like breaks, and then we hear like this thud, like this on the ground. And we stop because we can't really see much. And I look forward, and the moon happens to just be the direction that I'm looking in the sky. It's clear night, and the moon shining down on us. And I look up, and in the silhouette of the moon, I see like a massive, like 7-foot Bigfoot Sasquatch, like hairy shaped being right in front of us. And it's like, I mean, I had to look up like this, right? It's that tall. And my partner at the time, she sees it too, and she grabs my hand, and we freeze because we were like, what the, this is, like I said before, a spiritual awakening where I even accepted that these things were real or that they existed. I didn't understand things the way that I do now, so I was actually scared. So we can hear this breathing, like this, like a heavy breaths. So her and I are frozen solid. We can't move because we're so scared. And I'm holding her hand, and then all of a sudden it bolts and it runs past us into the tree line on the side of the road where our car's broken down. And as it runs by us, you can hear the weight of its footsteps, like doof, 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 doof. And it's like bipedal, right? 2 steps, not like a bear or something with 4 legs. I mean, it's just like a person, like a massive person runs, just this dark, giant shape, like 7 or more tall, into the woods. And her and I panicked. Now, we couldn't really think straight because we were so scared, because it's like in that moment, we'd only ever watched the fake TV shows that don't actually show the real monsters. But every once in a while, if you watch like the History Channel or any of those monster hunting shows, they would sometimes have like that stereotypical Sasquatch howl, like that screech that sometimes you hear recordings of. But that's all I'd ever been exposed to. Now, people had told me in Washington State that they had encounters of Sasquatch, but I never had my own until this moment. So her and I are frozen solid, and it's like you just don't want to accept that it is what you know that it is. So you can't think straight. So instead of going to the rest stop, going through the gravel and continuing to the rest stop like we should have, we panicked and ran back to the car, which was fucking stupid. So we go back to the car on the same side that it ran into the woods. Get in the car, shut the door, lock everything, and we're like, we're scared. We don't know what to do, and we're like, what was that? And she's like, I don't know. Don't say what you think it is. And I'm like, but don't you think it was what we think it was? And she's like, just don't say it. And I was like, okay. So we're sitting there for a minute, and I'm like, okay, well, we can't stay in this car. It's pitch black all night. Can't charge our cell phones. It's freezing cold. We're in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, listen, we got to make a break for the rest stop. We got to get to it. Otherwise, we're like sitting ducks here. And we're like Sasquatch bait.
How far did you say it was?
Quarter mile.
Oh, okay.
Less than a mile. It's close. You can see it from the car. Yeah. So, and that's the only light source, right? So we're like, okay, let's get out of the car, hold hands, and let's get to the rest stop where it's going to be safe. So, once again, not thinking clearly, we get out of the car, and now we're walking to the rest stop on the same side of the car that's broken down that the Sasquatch ran into the woods at. So once again, should have gone back to the gravel or just crossed in the mud and just gone straight to the damn. So we're walking on our side of the thruway that's broken down car. And as we're walking towards it, we can see it. We can see the lights. It's getting closer. And now we hear it trailing with us in the tree line. It's just walking alongside of us 100 feet right into the tree line on the side of the road. Branches are breaking. Sticks are breaking. I mean, we're hearing like full footsteps just with us, keeping pace with us. So she's like, just keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. And she's got my hand gripped like, as hard as she can. And we're like scared. And all of a sudden, the closer that we get to the rest stop, it lets out that stereotypical screech that you've only heard on YouTube clips, the kind that you've only heard on the TV shows. The one thing that they'll give us is that howling sound. It does that in the woods, like 100 feet from me, screeches. That howl, right? You know what it is. Like, go to YouTube. It's only one thing, and it does that. And when you hear that sound for the first time in real life, not on a YouTube clip, but in real life, 100 feet from you, it was so loud. And the sound just cuts right through your body. It cuts right through your bones. In that moment, any doubt we had, it is exactly what you think it is. There's no mistaking it. It is the thing you think it is. And it lets out that howl. And then in the distance, it set off like a a whole bunch of dogs. Maybe there was like a farmhouse or some house in the woods that had a couple dogs. We hear these dogs going crazy, barking, barking, barking in the distance. And I just fucking grab her hand, man, and we booked it. And we ran through the median, through the mud, like I didn't want to before. We ran right through the center of the median, covered in mud and water, get to the rest stop safe, and now we're there and it's over.
Well, yeah, I guess this isn't going to be a top 10 because there's a chance that you may have picked something that I have as well. Bigfoot in Mount Shasta was definitely up there. One of my favorites was with Gwendolyn, episode 7, Bigfoot in My Backyard. She had a lot to tell us as far as like Bigfoot and paranormal goes, because she has some paranormal activity that she deals with at home as well.
Shout out to Gwendolyn because she's also in our intro.
Yes, absolutely. And Gwen, if you're listening to this, I haven't forgot about you. I've been very busy. A lot of things have been going on, but I'm definitely going to get that track done. I promise.
He's just letting you know he's there. I had an experience. My girlfriend and I would camp out in the yard, and Bigfoot seemed to love the two of us. I'm not sure like what that was about, but I would always set out a voice recorder on the chair right outside our tents. And we have gotten some of the craziest things. Of course, footsteps, things walking around our tents. I got one morning, it was me in my tent and Carrie and her husband in the other tent. And I heard giggling, like I heard it. It woke me up. And I was like, oh, I just dismissed it. I'm like, Carrie and Steve must be giggling about something or whatever. And I rolled over and went back to sleep. Well, in the morning when I got up, Carrie's sitting by the fire and she's like waiting for me. And I'm like, hey, good morning. She's like, what do you say to your chickens? And I'm like, I say, good morning, ladies. Like when I go out to feed them, I talk to them, I'm like, hey girls, what's going on? And she said, she heard my voice come from the chicken coop at like 6:00 in the morning. She thought I was awake, came out to talk to me, and I was sound asleep in the tent.
Wow.
And when I played back the audio recording, I heard that giggle that I heard on the radio. And I had asked Carrie about it, and she said, no, we weren't giggling. Like, I was like,
oh, wow.
What the hell's happening? Like, it was insane.
But
yeah, it's nice that she became a pretty good friend of ours. And she helps us with stuff if we need it. If we ask her, hey, can you give us some advice? She'll give us advice.
Yeah. There's been a lot of people that we've met just by doing this, and then going to the conventions and things like that. We met a lot of great people.
Yeah.
I have my list here on the right on my phone, but I forgot to shut my ringer off, so that was a notification I just got a minute ago.
I'm scrolling through them on my screen over here. Scrolling through all the episodes. The one I really enjoyed too was the Red Onion Saloon one.
See, I had that on my list, but then I took it off because there was another one that I wanted to add to the list. So if we could have picked 6, the Red Onion Saloon would have definitely been on it.
But that one is more of a sentimental thing because that's the one we first reached out to somebody that was on a TV show. But like, it was on TV and she was on TV. So this was like something like, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but it's like, it meant more because she was on TV and it's like, oh my God, she's actually coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, you're right.
And she's going to talk to us.
Yeah, I remember that day because we was at work and I was like, well, what if we call him? And you're like, do it. And I was like, all right, bet. I was so nervous, dude. I was so nervous.
We have one main ghost that we talk about on every tour. She's kind of our celebrity, and her name is Lydia. And from what we've learned, based on things that she's shown us, and by us, I mean, so the us is not just me, it's various tour guides that have been working there throughout the years. So the stories that I'm going to share with you are a composite of other people's experiences with her. So what we've learned was that she was more than likely a woman who worked in the brothel. I'm going to back up for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
So often what happened during the gold rush is, I mean, women didn't come up to Alaska thinking, hey, I'm going to go into prostitution. I mean, some did, not everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But to live in Skagway back in 1898, the cost of living was approximately $6 a day, but working a respectable job, you could only earn $3 a day. And a respectable job was something like a cook, a laundress, a seamstress, that sort of thing. And so often women, to survive, would go into the world's oldest profession, because there was roughly 300 women in this community at any given time, and there was 15,000 men transitioning through. So there was potential to make an income, with these lonely gentlemen. And so often women would end up just trying to make ends meet by working in prostitution. And there was various forms of prostitution in Skagway back then. And I do need to preface, prostitution has never been legal in Alaska, but it was tolerated during the gold rush. Because if you kept the men happy, they were less likely to kill each other. There was a lot of murder and mayhem that happened during those times too.
Yeah.
A lot of scoundrels. So,
right.
From what we've gathered, Lydia was a respectable woman prior to working at the Red Onion, but she couldn't make ends meet. And so she came to work at the Red Onion Saloon, and my house just made a really awesome noise right at that moment as I'm talking about Lydia. Love that. And so she comes to work at the Red Onion, and from what we've gathered, she probably ended up with an STI. And back then, they weren't as easily treatable as they are now. And so that when you had a disease like that, obviously working in this profession would make it very difficult, and nobody's going to want to touch you. And so often what happened was women, if they couldn't get out to get medical help, then they would end up taking their own lives because they're basically shamed into being an untouchable.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And that's what we think happened to Lydia, because a former tour guide, we also call our tour guides madams, so I might accidentally flip back and forth between that. But our former tour guide saw her hanging in a specific part of the brothel, and she showed this tour guide where she had hung herself. And it is a spot, I'm getting chills just talking about this. It is a spot that she does occasionally still show up in. People have been able to capture her on camera. Used to be on film, now it's digitally. I never personally talk about what she looks like because I don't want people to be able to go in. I want them to show me what they saw, or what they see, not make it up, if that makes sense. What I will say is she does look like a proper Victorian lady. She is said to walk the halls still. Sometimes you hear her little boots clacking around on the floor upstairs if you're downstairs. Sometimes if you're up there and you think you're by yourself and you hear the footsteps and you think, oh, maybe a coworker's here. No, you turn around and there's nobody there.
Wonder what she had a lot of good stories about the Red Onion Saloon as well.
Yeah, I think that in the future, I would like to do some traveling. And I think that if ever given the opportunity, I am going to go to the Red Onion Saloon.
Yes.
Actually, there's a guy that me and Ella watch on YouTube. His name is Luke, believe it or not, and he does a YouTube channel called Outdoor Boys. It's him and his 3 sons, and they go out and they do hunting and things like that. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he lives in Alaska.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yes, it is your turn.
All right. So next on my list, I have episode 24. That's right after Bigfoot and Mount Shasta. From apparitions to occult practices. That was with Freighter.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was another one of those episodes that was like really in-depth theory and talking about like certain things like that. And then I got to go on a little camping adventure with him in Lake Shawnee, which I never posted the video. I know, I suck. But either way, I still have the footage to post eventually whenever I have time to edit it.
That one wasn't going to be on my list.
Yeah.
But it's just, like I said, it's so hard to pick just 5 of them.
Yeah, I know. Out of 50, they were all great episodes.
They were. Do you want to play a clip from that episode?
Yeah, absolutely.
Spirit of the person who was murdered came through and told us who did it, how it happened, when it happened, why it happened, all of that. No one's ever got that before.
Wow.
I told the owner of it, and he's like, that's really wild you said that because XYZ, and gave us some other things that happened over time. He's like, your story lines up with that with so much more detail. I says, yeah, the kid that died in the orphanage wasn't an accident. I was like, he was pushed from one of the other kids who was an orphan at the orphanage because they both had the hots for a nighttime nurse that worked at the orphanage, and the other kid was jealous and pushed him head first down the stairs.
Oh,
wow.
And I gave pieces of information I couldn't have known to the guy that owns the building now. And he's like, well, in my records, actually, some of the stuff you said matches dead on. I was like, well, I'm not making this up, brother. I'm like, the spirit was very pissed off last night and telling me so much so that we ask, what is it you want us to do? And in just clear-cut sense, it told us it wanted us to find such and such who pushed him and end him.
I have a feeling you're going to pick this one, so I'm not going to pick this one. But how many did I do? 2? Or is it 3?
This will be your 3rd.
Okay. The 3rd one I would pick would be episode 43 with Say Less Paranormal.
Oh yeah, that was. You know what? I didn't even think about that one. That was a really good one too, and they became some pretty good friends.
Yeah, we talk to them quite often during their lives. Once in a while, when they get live, and we did some investigating with them at the Ross house, and plan on doing more investigations with them in the future. Like you said, we met a lot of good people at the festival, and they're one of the people we met at the festival. And they're fun people to investigate with. It's not the same old cookie cutter investigation. They do different things, and that's why I enjoyed that episode a lot.
Yeah, I enjoyed investigating the Ross house with them. I would like to go back whenever we did the hide and seek. That I see, that's what I like about them with investigating, is that they find these different things that isn't just you're going in or who's here, what's your name, how old are you.
Yeah,
we recently went on an investigation with you guys at the Ross house, which we love teaming up with you guys. That was so much fun.
It was a blast. Yeah, a blast.
What were your first thoughts on the Ross house when you first investigated it?
Initially, when we were getting the tour, the first time we went, Cindy, with the owner, was not able to be there. So her brother, who owns the antique store next to the Ross house, came to give us a tour. And when we went upstairs, we all heard a voice. And I was like, yeah, this place it's no joke. And I felt comfortable, though. I didn't feel anything like malevolent or,
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
felt super threatened in that place or
No.
anything. Like you can tell something's grumpy,
Yeah.
but I don't feel anything evil there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I think it was our first investigation there is when we heard the disembodied voice.
Yeah, the child. I think that might have been our first one.
Yeah.
I can't remember now.
So after that, we were like hooked to that place because we had so many experiences and got the evidence. I was under Estes, so I did not hear the disembodied voice. But when I heard it back on our DVR and on our live, I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, I remember hearing that clip, and I know whenever we were there, we had a similar instance where we thought we had heard a disembodied voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be honest, I have not even had a chance to really look at that yet. Like,
oh, we have so much evidence
with
to go over.
everything, but
Yeah, I've only got to look through like a little bit, like one audio file from my thing.
Right.
And it was when me and Mars was doing the Estes method, which I'm curious, what are your thoughts on some of them clips that I had sent you?
They're crazy. Yeah. I mean, you two were feeding off each other. You didn't even know what each other was saying.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you two are similar when her and I do it, you know, and I think it has a lot to do with being sensitive and things. And I know, we know you are, and we know Mars is. So the two of you definitely we're communicating on a different level.
Yeah. I think my favorite one was whenever you, Chris, had mentioned the cologne, and I was like, "Oh, so you think I'm sweet or something like that?"
yeah. And I wasn't even in the room at that time. I was like walking down the hall and stuff. And that was pretty funny. Now you get good stuff there. That place never I have never been disappointed. Even on a slow night, it hasn't been disappointing. So
yeah.
I like to get back there again.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was like our 6th time.
Yeah, I think that's about our 6th investigation there. So
yeah,
we do well.
It's. I didn't feel very threatened, like you were saying. It just seems like something's just grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're annoying it by showing up 6 times.
Yeah.
These people are back.
I think the spirits get a familiarity with you, though. Do you think that maybe they open up a little bit more and give you more activity because they have that familiarity, or do you think that maybe they kind of get to a point where they're like, ugh, the same old thing?
I feel like they're like, oh, same old thing. They're going to ask us questions we have to answer. But I do feel like there's some residual hauntings there too that just happen over and over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a familiarity. I think you guys probably learned that with us. We try to make things more fun. We're trying to get away from the same old, just stand there, ask the same standard questions, and drone over and over. I could see a spirit being like, okay, my name's like they almost will have to have like a script, because they know what the questions are going to be.
Yeah.
My name's this, I'm this old, I died here, I died this.
Yeah, that's why I like investigating with you guys, because you look at it from a different perspective and bring that originality to investigating. It's not just the cookie cutter way of doing it.
Yeah,
I think you're going to get more evidence when you
Yeah.
don't ask the same questions over and over, you know?
And we did hide and seek.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was cool.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, whenever I was upstairs, I thought I was, but first I thought I was by myself. And I was a little, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little sketched because I wouldn't go in the room with the mannequin. There was no way. I was standing in that hallway and by the chinchilla room, and I felt like I could see like shadows moving in the chinchilla room. And then I heard footsteps come upstairs, and I thought Mars had went down in that bedroom down on the other side. And then I heard her downstairs, and then I heard her come upstairs. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Was I up here by myself, or was somebody up here with me? So how about the night after the investigation? We were all sitting around the dinner table, and I asked my wife, I said, you said I can't have a Ouija board, right? I said, yes, you cannot have a Ouija board. I said, okay. She said, you cannot own one and put it outside either. I said, okay. She said, not in the garage. I said, that's fine. She said, so where's your loophole? I said, well, I played with one yesterday. She goes, oh, that's fine.
Then tell her the thing that happened the night afterward.
Oh, what happened the night afterwards? Hold on. I have to think about it. Is that whenever I started having weird things happen at the house?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So since we have actually, we've had some increased activity at the house since we've left the Ross house.
Oh.
We've had things fall off the shelf. My wife's heard footsteps in the hallway. What else? There was a night that I was out in the living room and I heard the baby scream like bloody murder. And I'm like, I wasn't sure. So I was like, you know how parents, wait a minute, I'm going to see what's happening here. That was it. She didn't make any other noise. Renee was back here with her. She says she never heard her. She never screamed.
Oh, wow.
All right. I guess it's my turn.
Yes.
So next on my list is episode 30, The Bolesky Experience.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the one that you thought that I was going to pick?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I had a feeling you would pick that one.
That was another one of those in-depth spiritual conversations that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. That was also one that was like a big one, at least for me, because that she's kind of established on YouTube, so I wasn't sure whether or not that she would come on, but she did. Thank you so much, Amy. It was a great conversation, and if you're listening to this, we'd love to have you back on. Something that you had said, the wild eyes, I resonate with that. I was doing readings on TikTok, and I noticed that whenever I would pull cards, I would always kind of stare off into the left, and that's kind of where I felt like my information would come from.
Yes.
But I don't know where to go from there with that. We had an experience at a convention that kind of made me feel some type of way, because we were trying to get people to come onto our podcast and scheduling for future events and stuff. And I had just done a card reading for her, or for his dad, which the foot thing also came up in that. And as I was talking to this lady, they kept poking and prodding. They're like, ask her about her grandmother. Say something about her grandmother. So I did, but they don't come through. It wasn't like full sentences. It would just be like grandma, April, dog. But she ended up crying, and she's like, I think my dog's going to die. And I'm like, oh no.
It's okay. It's okay. They'll be there right there. Yeah. And so with that, you're talking about, words versus full sentences. So when you get, let's talk about how they talk. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how do they talk? How do you experience them talking?
It's not like a separate voice. It'd be like a random thought. I can hear my own voice in my head, and it would be my voice, but it would be these just random thoughts that aren't anything that's relative to what I'm doing at the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So that's one of the ways. So just FYI, as you do this and as you learn more, and we're going to talk about tarot as well. So as you're doing this and as you're doing it more, when they come in and they talk, right, they use your body to channel. You have to also remember that 50% of the connection is the person that's sitting down. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because that's who they're coming through. So if you go and you do sessions, this is why live readings are, especially if you're doing like mediumship, it's difficult, or it's not my particular favorite. And the reason for it is because you're literally channeling and bringing in God and spirits. Like, it's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And so you need to set yourself up where you're in a calm, comfortable position for the best communication. And then your client needs to have it as well. They need to be calm. They need to be relaxed. They need to have all the dogs and kids and everything out. They need to be calling in their loved ones or the people they want to channel 2 or 3 days before. They need to think about them. They need to bring out their photos. They need to build that connection. Mm-hmm. Because when you think about them, you light a candle for them, when you talk to them, that's building that channel. Okay. And so when you get into the session, yes, they may be nervous, kind of like you're nervous, right? Yes, they may be nervous, but if I'm doing my job correctly, which is just like chilling out and not caring, then I can hop in, and they've made that channel big enough where information just starts flowing. If they're going to McDonald's, if they have 15 people yelling in their house, it's very, very difficult because number one, they're not focused and 50% of the connection is them. And then also I get very distracted by, people talking, things moving around. Like you're literally taking the hardest test in the entire world in a different language and everybody's expecting you to ace it.
I liked how at the end of the episode, how she went through like our birth charts and stuff like that as well. That was pretty cool.
That was cool. That was very cool.
Now, I'll pick my 4th episode here. I would like to say episode 2 with Joe Shortridge.
Was that episode 2?
Yes, it was.
Was it Ghostly Apparitions or something like that?
Ghostly Apparitions, yes. Technically, that was the first episode we recorded with Joe.
Technically, yeah.
Even though our first episode was the large wolf-like creature, Joe was our first podcast that we've ever done.
Yeah, yeah.
And that episode started it all.
It did.
And that one, I think, is more like a sentimental episode because it's like the first one that started all this yearly project and continuing forward.
Yeah.
So the next one that I would like the most is for that reason.
We walked in this area and we got a strange feeling to begin with, and we actually could hear voices, people talking. We could hear babies crying, which is weird because there's no babies there. We heard babies crying, and it just seemed like the woods were looking at us. And we did our normal thing. We walked around, looked around. We did a couple of EVP sessions, didn't get anything. But standing next to me was a stump. And it's about a 3-foot stump, and someone tied a red bow on it. And I told my sister, I'm like, look at this. This is kind of interesting. I don't know why they did this. I turned my head, I turned back, and that stump actually turned into a full body apparition of a guy jumping out of the woods at me. And I could see exactly how he was dressed. He had gray wool pants on. He had a red shirt. He had a flip-it style hat, but his face and his hands were, I mean, we always say they're ashen, but they were like a gray ash color. And he was jumping out of the woods at me. And just as he got to me and to grab me, he vanished. And I jumped about 6 feet off the ground. I like to say that I should have been wearing Depends, but that didn't happen. But yeah, I jumped. We have it on video where Jen's got her camera out and she's scanning the area, and all of a sudden you hear me like scream like a little girl and jump about 6 feet in the air, and my adrenaline was pumping like you would not believe. And she's like, I've never seen you jump like that. I'm like, that I've never got scared like that. That freaked me out.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, shout out to you, Joe, and the 222 Paranormal Podcast. You really kind of help us set sail on this paranormal podcast adventure with all the tips and things that you gave us, and yeah, and even the episode that we did with him. What was it? The Giants or something like that. I can't remember the title of the episode, but yeah,
episode 22. Episode 22, Giants Among Us.
Giants Among Us, yeah. Joe's a very educated person, I would say. He knows what he's talking about.
The quality of the episode is not the greatest because it was the first one. And it still sounds good, but it wasn't as high quality as like the new episodes.
Yeah, that's the thing that like throughout the year we have the quality of our content has gotten a lot better. I'm not gonna say it's where it should be, but it's definitely improved since our first episode.
Well, it's hard to do these podcasts with like at home with kids and noisy backgrounds. So once we get out in the studio, we're a quiet place, I think the quality of the content would be better. And on top of the quality, the thumbnails has becoming better than they were in the beginning as well.
Yeah, I have to say, man, I'm really proud of you, you know, because you kind of really took the thumbnail thing and ran with it, and you went and researched how to do certain things, and yeah, man, it really excites me to see you taking on something. I don't know, I feel like you really enjoy doing it.
I do enjoy doing the thumbnails.
All right, I guess it's my turn.
It is.
Okay. Last but not least, for my top picks is episode.
Would this be number 4?
Would this be number 4? No, this would be number 5 for me. So maybe we messed up. Maybe you already did 4. Oh well, you'll pick another one after this, anyways. So it's either our top 10 or our top 11. Either way. My next pick is episode 27. See, this one means something to me too, because it warms my heart to see our kids finding an interest in what we do. I don't know if Nevaeh and Madeline talk about the podcast or not, but I know Arizona and Ella, they bring it up and they listen to it with Renee. They have, I want to say heated, but they have conversations and debates about these would you rathers that we do at the end of the podcast, which is kind of cool. But my next pick is episode 27, The Kids and the Cryptids. You did a little bit of research, right, Ella, before we got on the podcast?
Yeah.
What are some things that you found?
While I was watching that video, I heard that Frogman began in May 1955.
That's correct. And that's Frogman, right?
Yeah.
Do you know where?
They lived in Loveland.
In Loveland, Ohio, yeah. So what do you think about Frogman?
I think I want to see him.
You think you want to see him?
Yeah.
Nevaeh, would you like to see Frogman? Yeah. What about you, Arizona?
No.
No.
No. What about you, Dad? What about you, Dad? Oh, no.
You want to? Well, hold on. Arizona was saying something. She was finishing up. What did you say?
I would rather go see Bigfoot.
You would rather see Bigfoot? I don't know, man. I would like. He's gonna be your best friend. I don't know. I think I'd like to see a Frogman.
I have a Bigfoot right here.
You have a Bigfoot. You are a Bigfoot.
That was a fun episode. It was hectic.
It was hectic.
I don't want to say it's hard to do a podcast with 3 kids, but it's a challenge.
It is a challenge. It takes some guidance, you know.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that episode. That was fun dinner with the kids, like you said, and Nevaeh is real into the podcast, and she likes to listen to them. I'm not so much really, but when we usually drive up to Pittsburgh to see my family, we'll usually play like a episode that she didn't listen to, or Chelsea didn't listen to, so we all listen to it together.
That's really cool.
So I listen to these episodes at least 2-3 times myself.
Yeah, I think I've listened to each episode probably 2 or 3 times, if not 4, you know, sitting there editing it. I listened to it and then listened to it. And I was there for it.
Yeah. The last episode, our pick. Are you picking one more, or are you done?
Nope, that was it. That was all my picks.
There's a toss-up between 2 of them. Episode 36, exploring the Bridgewater Triangle. That one, I like that one. And I know I wasn't a part of this episode. Episode 44, Jay exploring the Kettle Ring.
Oh, with Jay Pachochin. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yes.
Jay, shout out to you, man. That was a really in-depth conversation, I felt, as well. Yeah, that was, I don't know, I feel like that was the only episode I did by myself.
It was.
You've done like 2, if not 3. We had something interesting happen the other night at our location. I whistled with my fingers, like really loud, and immediately had something whistle back to me. And we caught that on video. We have it on audio.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing with that is I've had the whistles. It was early on, probably 2014. During the day, though.
Oh wow!
How did your whistle sound? Like, can you kind of describe what you?
It sounded like it mimicked me like perfectly as far as like the tone and the way the inflection was in the whistle. It was just kind of like a something like that.
Okay, because the reason why I ask that is I've always heard people saying they've heard Bigfoot whistles. You can go on YouTube and look everywhere. You don't know what's true anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're online or from anybody, but it's the same thing in audio in 2014 during the day. I was out with another hiker and we were on top of a kettle and I remember it was February, snow everywhere. And during the day, and we're just kind of poking around, looking around, and it was kind of like just a single tone.
Yeah.
Now, it was definitely not a wind going through a tree, you know, because you'll hear the trees rub, and, you know, sometimes they sound like a baby, sometimes they could sound like a whistle. This was like a kind of, hey, I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, first thing I'm thinking of is there hunters here? You know, I'm trying to figure out what season it is for hunting. Or, I mean, we're looking in the trees, and again, because there's no leaves on the tree, it was really easy to see. However, that tone that I just did was literally within 5 feet of us, and there's nobody there. And again, it just sounded like a single tone. So that's why I was kind of trying to find out if anybody's ever heard a single toned whistle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I'll have to send you the video because you said it sounded like it was really close to you, which ours did as well, which is strange because we were in an open area and mostly surrounded by a lake. So
and it's like right there, and exactly, because the biggest thing is, no matter what, the skeptics of Bigfoot, the skeptics within this field is always going to be high. You're always going to get, no, it wasn't that, you know, it was an otter coming out of the water, or, you know, in my case, it was a pelican with a Santa Claus hat on. I'm just saying it's, and I don't mean to make it sound that bad, but there's always that excuse when people are not there to observe it. They can hear it through your video, like you'll send to me, and I could send you the one that I have as well, that video or the audio of that. And we both weren't there. I wasn't where you were. You weren't where I was. So it's really hard to put it in context of what that person observed. You know, and again, you know, with that, I always say, I'm not an Outback Jack. I'm not Crocodile Dundee. You know, I'm not that expert tracker. And I'm learning as I go, and I think that's what we need to do as we go out and hike and observe. But you know, again, that single tone whistle right away immediately to me is, I've never heard a bird do that. You know, and it sounded like very much like almost like a human whistle, but there was no human there.
It was cool listening to it as a listener's standpoint. And because I wasn't involved in the conversation because I had something to do that day. And it's different listening to it from when you're not in it.
Right. Yeah, that's how.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's how I felt whenever you did the episode with Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's like a little break, you know, because it's like, oh, we still put out an episode, but I have something new to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Well,
Now, let's give a shout out to all the people we had on this year. It was awesome having everybody we had on this year come on, and maybe try to have them come on again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And if you are listening to this and you've had a paranormal experience and would like to come on the show, you can always reach out to us through email at exploringtheunknownpod@outlook.com, or if you would like, you can send us a voice memo through email and we will play it on the episode. So what are some goals that we have accomplished this year that really excited you?
One of my goals, I would say, would be, I think one of the coolest things that I accomplished this year was the 1,000 followers on Facebook.
Yeah, that was definitely a milestone for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And even the YouTube, we're up to what, 585?
85.
That's insane. Yeah. That's wild.
Uh-huh.
I think
it is wild.
For me, it was going to the convention. But I think for me, like planning things throughout the year and following through with it has put me into a better mindset, not just for the podcast, but just in regular life, you know, because it made me realize how much on the fly we live and how much we miss out on because we don't plan ahead of time.
Yeah. My biggest thing doing this podcast is being more open to talk to people and like reach out to people and be like, hey, you want to come on the podcast? Like, that helped me a lot, because before that, I really wasn't the type of person who would be like, hey, just to some random person. So it made me a little bit more social with people and interacting with people. Because before that, I really wasn't, I don't want to say I was antisocial, but it wasn't like I am now, where I don't mind going up and talking to people, and I don't mind talking to people and reaching out to people randomly. So that helped me throughout the way.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed since we started the podcast, you've opened up a lot more. I think I have too. I think, well, you do a lot actually with the bringing people on. I don't do a whole lot of reaching out to people. You do most of that. So, yeah, shout out to you.
I like this, looking up people's stories and reaching out to them and be like, hey, you want to come on the podcast?
Yeah, it's kind of cool too for me, because it's like I don't know what to expect whenever we have somebody come on, so I'm always like, who do we have coming on, Luke? Who is this person?
You gotta do your research before they come on.
Oh man, I can't believe it. So what are some goals that you would like to achieve this year, 2025?
Goals that I would like to achieve this year would definitely be reaching our views on YouTube and hoping to get monetized by YouTube.
Yeah, that's
so we can have some kind of income coming in for the podcast, where it's not just out of pocket.
Yeah.
Definitely growing more. Keep on growing. And I like to do a little bit more conventions and stuff like that this year. Go get our name out there more.
I agree. Conventions are definitely something that I want to take part of more this year. We got to do 2 last year. Maybe we try to shoot for at least 2 or 3 this year. I know that we we're talking about trying to start our own thing here locally. So that's definitely a goal that we would like to achieve.
Even if we don't go to the conventions and set up, I think it'd be a good idea to at least go walk around.
Yeah.
And like wear our merch, and we go up to people and they'd be like, "Hey, what's that on your t-shirt?" Like,
yeah,
hand out business cards to people who go as a guest.
Yeah,
I think that's the way you can even talk to more people as well. So I think even if we don't go set up at a convention, I think definitely going to more conventions would be ideal as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I like setting up at the convention and doing that and whatnot, but we didn't stay at the table very much. We pretty much just walked around and talked to people, and that's what we did, passing out our business cards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's the fun of being at a convention, is walking around, checking things out. But at the same time, we can also sit there with our stuff and have people come up to us. Like, we had a few people come up to us and tell us their experiences.
Yeah. I think the nice thing about setting up at the convention is because we travel with the family, and we can take in a cooler and we can set up and have a little spot for the kids to just kind of be, you know. I know they enjoy walking around too, but just having a spot to be able to come back to and chill at is nice.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you have any?
Yeah, I think another thing that I want to try to accomplish this year is posting more videos on YouTube. I would like to do more investigations, and even like if we go to these conventions, just vlog, you know. Yeah, that's something that's on my mind this year.
Get more shorts out and stuff like that. Do more shorts and going live more often.
Yeah.
It's hard now because of the winter time, and we used to go live twice a week during like when it was nice out, but it's hard to do that now with the weather.
Yeah.
But once it starts warming up again, we can maybe start going live twice a week like we were doing.
Yeah. I like going down to the that house and investigating. We've been going live there the last couple of times. I enjoy that. I think that's a really cool place to investigate. I would like to do some more investigations there.
I like to do more investigations at like other locations as well too. Couple on my mind. I like to go investigate Marysville Penitentiary. We would need a group of people for that.
I think that we can do it. I think that, like we were talking earlier, if we plan it, I think that we can get it together to make it happen.
Then that other place in West Virginia, the old hospital on College Hill or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to investigate that. Try to make a weekend to go down Gettysburg for a couple of days. Go down Gettysburg, and even if it's like both the families, go down for a vacation or something like that. Short vacation, go hang out and do shit down there. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Maybe, I know we was talking about going on family camping trips. Maybe that might be something we could do.
Yeah, definitely trying to do more promotional stuff too. Would be a good idea, I think, as well. Get people to come check out our content.
Yeah, I agree.
This is gonna wrap up the big episode 50, and I can't believe this episode is actually happening. Like, when we first started doing this podcast, I was hoping it was gonna be a more consistent thing like it is, and I was a little worried that like it was gonna be something that just like falls off.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we are staying consistent with this. If you haven't already, please go check out the YouTube and subscribe. And down in the link, the comment, I can't speak. Down in this description below, there is a link for Ghost Stop. If you purchase anything through that link, it will help support the show. And if you're don't feel comfortable, go to our website, explainingunknownpod.com, and we have a Cash App and PayPal, and send us a little donation there. And while you're on the website, go check out the merch. We have official Explaining Unknown merch, and we have some other merch as well. And I think that would be all for the podcast mentions.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've had an encounter, like we said before, please reach out to us through either the email or you can reach out to us through Facebook. And if you don't want to come on the show live, then you can definitely send us like a voice memo or something of you telling us the encounter that you had, and we'll play that on a future episode.
I'd like to have someone send us a voice memo. That would be cool.
That would be really cool. We recently had somebody reach us through the website, which was also cool. Mm-hmm. That's another way. I don't think that we mentioned that. You can reach us through the website.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you have a question?
Oh my gosh, I don't. Hold on. Are you ready?
I am.
Would you rather have the ability to revisit any moment in your past to experience it again, but not change anything, or have the power to glimpse one moment from your future to see how it unfolds?
Okay, now is there any consequences for these? Is this just a would you have a question? Because I know some of them have consequences.
Do you want consequences?
I mean, we don't need it. I was just curious if there was.
Nah, we're just gonna leave it as is.
Yeah, back to visit any moment, move forward, have a vision of the future.
Pretty
but
much.
Just a glimpse.
Yep, and you can't change anything from the past.
That's hard because I mean, if I went back to the past, I probably wouldn't change anything. Because I think everything happens for a reason. So, if, like, you do try to change something from the past, and this might not be a thing.
True. Well, I don't think that you can change anything. It says that you're not able to change anything. Well,
yeah, I'm just saying. I'm happy with my past.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some things that aren't, but if that didn't happen, then who would say this would have happened to you? So I think I would have to say, take a glimpse into the future.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That is not what I thought you were going to pick with that explanation you just gave me.
Well, I was saying, the way I am with my past, I'm happy with it. So, like, there's really nothing. I mean, I guess there's something that I would like to get back and revisit, but I think I would rather see what happens in the future. Because if you see something in the future, there's a chance you could possibly change something where if you don't like it, it might be a different outcome.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. That's actually true. I get that. Well, I don't think that I wouldn't have picked the future one, and here's reasons why. Because I feel that it would diminish the experience.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
I would go.
You could also. Go ahead.
No, you could also what?
You could also try to change it as well if you don't like it. You can't change your past.
That's true, but then you're also kind of stressing yourself out to try to figure out what it is that would change that outcome.
Yeah, that's true.
My thing about revisiting any moment in the past to experience it again is that, like the other day, I don't know if I was telling you, is that I realized how much time has passed and how many moments that I wasn't fully present for.
Yeah.
So that would be my reasoning to go back, is to revisit those moments and experience it again.
That's a good reason why.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. That wraps it up.
This episode.
That wraps it up. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Don't forget, keep exploring the unknown.
Bye.